We're going to hear a lot of yapping on this episode when really there's going to be a lot of Miami envy. Let's bring in the squad.
You're talking ball with the ACC squad. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC squad.
Week 1, and the ACC's already been turned completely upside down. This episode of The Squad is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'm Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. We got Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse, Kenton Gibbs from Locked On ACC and Locked On Wolfpack, Grayson Boone from Locked On Wolfpack, Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels, Brian Smith from Locked On Seminoles. Guys, who wants to buy the first round here on the squad?
Oh, wait a minute. Before we get to rounds, because whenever you make a purchase, Dono, you know what comes with it? A receipt. And I got receipts of somebody, number one, throwing the little popcorn and eye emojis when NC State was struggling a little bit, as if their team was not going to struggle with the MAC team a week later. Come on down to the carpet.
Struggled against an FCS team.
Oh, so wait, Ohio
isn't even real.
So Ohio is level.
Western Carolina.
So just to make this sure here, the Ohio Bobcats, the mighty Bobcats now are a real team. Oh, they're a real team. Listen,
they're group
Jackson,
of 5. They've won. They beat Iowa State last year.
I love some action as much as you, Jackson, but that. You're telling me that you feel good about that?
I'm not saying I feel great. I'm just saying, we didn't struggle against a team that actually doesn't exist.
Oh, not a team doesn't exist. You know who does exist? You know who is a quarterback that exists in our conference that I would argue is better than your guy?
He's not.
Thomas Castellanos.
That's okay.
I was told.
Believe that, but
I was told. Hey, listen, I was told he couldn't throw the ball. I was told that he couldn't lead an offense. I was told that he's not a dude. He's just kind of around, and he can run around a little bit. And he ran all over Florida State's defense. But, boy, I'll tell you, he hit some big-time throws when it was necessary, didn't he?
Listen. Kenton, I'll agree with you on this. Thomas Castellanos played a very good game, but he also wasn't asked to do a whole lot. All right? He's 10 of 16 for 100 yards.
Right.
What is he, Tom Brady now? Come on now.
Hey,
you got to give it a little bit more time. He played well. It was a little bit of a smaller sample, and let's be real here. All right. I'm gonna take a shot at Florida State. All right. Wake me up when he plays a real team.
Oh, now Florida State not a real team. Now Florida State not a real team.
I really only said that because I have to poke fun at Brian here for thinking how great the Seminoles are going to be. But Thomas Castellanos played a good game. I had to eat a little bit of humble pie. He wasn't asked to do a whole lot, but he still ran the ball a ton, made some nice throws. I just want to see a little bit more from him. I mean, next week he's got Duquesne. He'll do fine in that one. But then after that, he's got Missouri. All right. So let's see how he does against Missouri and then come back at me about Thomas Castellanos.
I am keeping receipts because the same way that everybody on the internet is looking for no 3-2-1 or 1-2-3, whichever one it is, I'm going to be looking for you, Jackson. After that Missouri game, I'll be looking.
I did not eat. I did not say I was going to eat thing.
And that dude has disappeared from the face of the planet.
I'm also not going to disappear from the planet. So
just to make sure, in case people didn't see this dude that's a Seminoles fan had tweeted, if Florida State loses to BC this weekend, I will eat dog poop out of a red Solo cup with a spoon and post a video of me doing it. As soon as Florida State loses, everyone's looking for him on Monday night. Nowhere to be found. Brian, do you have any knowledge about where this dude is?
Probably got thrown in with some alligators somewhere in North Florida. They just got rid of it.
Man.
Can we talk for a second? Because I know you guys are going to talk about your quarterbacks. I'm not sure what that was from Grayson McCall, week 1. DJ Uiagalelei, is he even a quarterback? He's a defensive lineman trying to play quarterback. I feel bad for North Carolina. Did have a quarterback injury with Max Johnson. But, guys, my guy Cam Ward is out there. And we had in the buildup people wondering, is he really that good? Turnover prone. He's learning a new offense, new teammates. The man goes out there and slings it for 385, completing 74% of his passes, by the way. 3 touchdowns, did have the 1 interception, got sharper after the interception. ACC quarterback of the week. So I'm just kicking my feet up. And I know everyone now is saying, well, Florida was terrible the whole time. That's not what they were saying before the game. Oh, it's at the Swamp. Miami can't win at the Swamp. This is the best week 1 I can remember. Well, maybe not that I can remember, but it's the best week 1 in a long time for Miami.
Oh, my quarterback's so good. He's the conference quarterback of the week. Let me tell you something. You want to talk about a real team? I'm going to quote my good friend Jackson Holzer over here. Wake me up when he plays a real team. I'm sorry. Florida lied. Florida lied. You saw what we saw. You saw their first touchdown on the day through the air was to a tight end who started college when Obama was in office.
Hey, it's a great story, Cam McCormick.
And you're telling me good teams allow things like that? You're telling me good defenses allow 9th-year seniors? Don't call him Cam McCormick. Call him Dr. McCormick, because I know he's working on PhD by this point. He's got to defend
# Tommy Boy. Let's go.
He's got to defend the dissertation soon. Yeah, he probably will. Listen, I will give Cam Ward his guts. He looked phenomenal. But I'll tell you, the more I watch that game, the more I'm just like, wait, so what was Florida doing? What is this coverage? Because that young man seems to be running pretty wide open, but we all have to bow down at the throne of Cam Ward, because none of our quarterbacks, not a single one of our quarterbacks, looked as good as he did in week 1. And I'll wholeheartedly admit that.
And look, at least Miami goes on the road and gets our conference a true road victory. There was another school that did that too, but whatever. That's cool. But I bring that up to say, what the heck was Virginia Tech doing on Saturday? You do not walk into Nashville and just lay a turd like that. What on earth are and the Hokies, man? Rough.
This is exactly what I've been saying about Virginia Tech all off season. They had a 10-win schedule. They do not have 10-win talent. Exposed in week 1.
That's a great point by Grayson and Kenton. Like, you and I, we should have listened to Corey Burton from Locked On Vandy. Like, we did a crossover with the man talking Vandy, Virginia Tech. He's telling us, like, guys, don't sleep on Vandy. Like, he was trying to talk us into it. We just kind of chuckled and shut Corey down. I have since apologized to him via text.
Let me tell you something. I ate my crow. I admit it. Virginia Tech lied to me because in that first half, Kyron Drones was like, getting to a second read was the most difficult thing in the world. That man said, wait, my first guy's an open? What do you mean I can throw the ball to somebody else? That's not how this works. Either the first guy's open or I pull it down and run, which to Vanderbilt's credit, they did a hell of a job keeping him in the pocket and stopping the run. I was very thoroughly disappointed in Virginia Tech in all facets, but especially the quarterback, Kyron Drones. I have not seen a quarterback that was supposed to be something special lay an egg like that in week 1 in quite some time.
And there's something, Kenton, to like, I feel like we've seen that game every time. Vandy goes up 17-0 at home or whatever it was. Yeah. Virginia Tech comes back, takes the lead, and you're like, okay, this game's over. I can switch it to another channel. But to Vandy's credit, man, to fight back, win, get it to overtime, and pull off that win again after missing that field goal that could have won in regulation. Big time stuff. Sucks for our conference. And oh, by the way, Virginia Tech, Florida State, and Clemson are combined 0-4. And it feels like we're wide open in this thing all of a sudden.
Yeah. Anybody who felt like this conference was put away. Oh, go ahead, Dom.
The reason why we're wide open is like we're not even 2 weeks into the season yet, and Florida State's already 0-2 somehow. In week 1, they're 0-2, and they've lost 2 ACC games. I mean, Brian Smith, and listen, I know you have been very much on top of Florida State's struggles, but none of us expected this before week 0.
Is there anything else you could say besides they're just pathetic right now? They're not good at anything besides the punter's an All-American. Like literally, that's about the only guy that's playing consistent football, and he's going to get paid. But they are awful at the line of scrimmage. They've got nobody that gets separation at receiver. We don't know how good their secondary is because nobody has to throw the ball. To Jackson's point, talking about Thomas Castellanos, I know Thomas. He's a great athlete. He only threw 16 passes. Last week, Haynes King only threw 16 passes. They just punch you in the face And that vaunted defensive line that a certain Pete Thamel talked about all over Twitter and everywhere else, they've been punched in the mouth. They're awful. Florida State's not going to win 6 games the way they're playing. I'll be very surprised.
That schedule's tough, man.
You got to go to Miami and Notre Dame. Those games could be epically bad.
Wait. I want to make sure I heard this right. You're saying that it's possible for Florida State to not make a bowl game this year?
Oh, I'm picking them to win 4 games right now, flat out. No ifs, ands, or buts. 4 games.
Have you looked at their schedule? It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. I mean, Georgia Tech.
What's the reason?
Here it is. Let me lay it out. Versus Memphis, versus Cal, at SMU, versus Clemson, at Duke, at Miami, hosting North Carolina, at Notre Dame, and then Charleston Southern before hosting Florida.
Outside of Charleston Southern, who are you picking them to beat out of that?
Florida's not going to have a coach. Florida's not going to have a coach in that game. Billy's going to be gone.
Well, that might help them. That might help Florida without that coach. Well, hold on. I want to take a deeper dive into this when we come back about the conference being wide open. We do have this week a new batch of Associated Press rankings, and one ACC team fell out of the rankings completely. Another one is teetering on the brink right now, folks. This is the Squad. Keep it locked right here on Locked On ACC. Guys, I already know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Right now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I know where I'm going to be next Sunday, guys. I'm going to be on my couch watching NFL Sunday Ticket all Sunday long. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And yeah, you can still place all your favorite wagers on FanDuel. You can get now very different new odds on ACC champions with Miami and Clemson now at the top 2 there. So if you place that preseason bet on Florida State, try to hedge it somewhere else. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We got the ACC Squad in the house. And all right, fellas, so Florida State, they dropped completely out of the top 25. They were number 10. They're now not even receiving votes. Clemson, can we talk about Clemson? Now, they dropped from number 14 to number 25, but it's one of those things where didn't expect them to win against Georgia. I don't know who did, but, I mean, did we expect a little bit more than what we got?
No. In the words of legendary gospel singer, God rest her soul, LaShawn Pace, act like you know, Dono. Act like you know. We all saw this coming. Dabo is running an offense that if it was bread, it wouldn't be stale. It would be molded. It would have that stuff growing on it where you're like, oh, yeah, we can't scrape this off and eat it. I mean, for Christ's sake, he refuses to get in the portal, refuses to adapt his offense, keeps saying we're not going to recruit over you, and look what that got you. Look what it got. But, hey, I'm sure with just $10 million more, all of a sudden Clemson will be back Clemson again. I'm sure they will be.
I thought Clemson looked exactly how I predicted they would. I knew they would struggle to move the ball, and it is Georgia, so you have to factor that in as well, but could not get anything going on offense, and because of that, your defense is going to bend and break until they can't bend anymore. That's exactly what happened. Clemson's in trouble, and Kent and I have talked about this a lot on Locked on Wolfpack. They are a program that is sinking into the ocean. I don't know how else that you can defend it right now, and I think those issues are going to persist as this year goes on. Now, I think that dropping 11 spots is maybe a little bit aggressive because, again, they did play Georgia. I just think they were overranked to begin with. 14 was high. I probably would have had them around like 20.
I think you guys might be a little overreacting on Clemson. I don't think their program is on the downhill. I think they need to eat a little bit of humble pie. I think that's what they need. Maybe Dabo Swinney's finally learning, like, hey, maybe next year you actually need to use the transfer portal. But, the Cade Klubnik will be out next year. I'm waiting for that tweet notification in 3 months that Cade Klubnik has entered the transfer portal and everything like that.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's like guaranteed at this point. But here's the deal. We knew they were going to struggle against Georgia. Like, that's a known fact. We knew that was going to happen. They struggled. Are we going to sit here and overreact to them? Like, all right, they got Appalachian State this week.
Don't sleep on that. They
should beat Appalachian. Listen, if you're not beating Appalachian State at home, you got bigger problems, all right? They should be able to win that game. Then you got NC State at home. If you beat NC State at home, tell me where the next loss is for Clemson. Tell me where it is.
I don't think they're beating NC State, though, is my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
just saying, if they beat NC State, I think they might beat NC State at home. If they beat NC State at home, I don't know where their next loss is this season.
Here's the question.
It's not a difficult schedule.
It is Florida State, Brian. Is it a 2-week thing? We got to get this figured out like Clemson did last year as the season progressed? Or is it like, this is who they are? Because, as we look at Clemson, what did we say that it like game 5 at Florida State in Tallahassee? Is there anything figured out by that point?
Well, Florida State had 21 rushing yards on 16 carries against Boston College. After that, where do you go from there, Isaac?
PU.
I mean, look.
Annexation of Puerto Rico. Let's get it.
Florida State did not attempt a first down run with the running back in the first half.
Gosh.
Hinton, what does that tell you as a defensive lineman?
They're terrified. Yeah, they're terrified. The boys.
What does that tell you when you got all seniors up front on your offensive line?
Yeah. I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you, I aspire to be as delusional as my good friend Jackson. Not only does he overbelieve in his Syracuse orange, he overbelieves in the Clemson orange as well. How is a team that has won national championships?
Even the Tennessee orange.
And that's the thing. I bet you are. Don't worry. Dono and I will cover the Stump the Squad rankings in tomorrow's episode. But I bet you are, because I'm going to tell you something. That is a team that has won national championships, yes or no?
Yes, they've won.
That is a team that has gone undefeated in the past, yes or no?
Yes.
That is a team that has consistently had double-digit wins in the past, yes or no?
Yes.
Was last year not their first single-digit win season in quite some time?
2010.
It's been a while, yeah.
Since 2000 when, Brian?
10.
Not only did I have a firm hairline, I had waves and no facial hair in 2014.
Hinton, tell me where they're okay. Let's say they lose. Let's say they lose to NC State. Tell me where their other losses are.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. We are greatly underestimating how bad Clemson is. I'm telling you right now, the signs are there. The writing is all over the wall. Dono can tell you everything that Clemson did. I called it in the offseason. I said they have no playmakers whatsoever on the outside except Williams. I said the defense is the defense. They're going to be special. They're going to make it hard on teams. But Cade Klubnik cannot figure out anything because there's nothing to figure out. It's the Clemson offense. I bought in Garrett Riley, and I'm paying him millions to do the same thing that any of us on this show could do. Any of us could call that stupid draw.
That's the dude. I feel so bad for Garrett Riley because this guy was like an innovator, the next big thing, and now he's it's Dabo's way or the highway, and it's like, why is he even there? You can bring in anybody.
If Dabo Swinney told me my way or the highway, I 10 by 10, baby. Come on, pack your stuff. We're leaving. I got to do it your way and with Cade Klubnik. Get me the hell out of Clemson, South Carolina right now. I ain't never left South Carolina so quick as what I would do that day.
Kenton, how big a deal is it that the guy under center is not named Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson or Taj Boyd? How big a factor is that in what we're talking about?
Oh, and remember when Taj Boyd, the worst of the three, was playing, he was throwing to some guy named DeAndre something or another.
Yeah, exactly.
There was some Martavis guy that was there too that was pretty good. They had a couple guys that made Pro Bowls there at that time. So I think it's funny how all of a sudden when there's not a generational quarterback, you run that same stale ass offense. I'm sorry, I don't want us to lose our clean rate on that same stale offense. What happens? It's so amazing. I'm so shocked. But you know what? They belong in the Big Ten because if they get that extra $15 million a year, that'll fix everything. It's that little bit of money. That's the difference. But that's the 30-point difference between them and Georgia right now. It's the $10 million that they don't have per year. That's what it is.
Georgia didn't even play well in the first half either.
6-0 in the first half.
That Malachi Sparks interception, y'all see that thing?
Yeah.
The only thing I saw better than
like
that
3 years ago or something like that.
It was 3 years ago in the same building against Oregon. Yeah. The only thing I saw better this weekend was that Robert Morris interception. If y'all didn't see that.
Yeah, that one was freaky.
Yeah,
that one was freaky.
Great.
I'll tell you what, though. Another thing that's unreal is DJU's ability to overthrow wide open receivers. I mean, for Christ's sake.
End zone.
Close.
How did Dabo Sweeney win like 10 games with DJU? That's impressive. You got to get it.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I never agree with Jackson, but that is true.
How do you win 10 games with that dude?
Hey, Donna, let me tie back to you were talking about the wide open stuff and the rankings. The highest any of our teams are right now is your Canes that are 12th. After that, we got nobody until we have all of 22 through 25. Florida, it's who is it? 22. Louisville, Georgia Tech, State, and Clemson, and then we got 3 receiving votes: BC, SMU, and Carolina. We got 4 of them this week.
Hey, we got a vote in the coaches poll, I think.
All right, well, I'm talking AP.
We're talking AP. We're talking about the big boy poll.
I wanted to be included on this.
Jackson gets a vote too. Let's get it. But anyway, go, Dono. Sorry.
Well, no, I just wanted to say, like, let's take a pause here, and then I want to talk about a big game, at least an impactful game I think it is a big game this weekend in conference, and a big game non-conference that involves Kenton and Grayson's team. That I'm hoping NC State's a little bit cleaner than they were week 1, because the Tennessee Volunteers will not be an easy test. So you guys want to keep it locked right here. We got the combination of the powers unite here in the ACC. We got Locked On Syracuse, Locked On Canes, Locked On Wolfpack, Locked On Tar Heels, and Locked On Seminoles represented right here on this brand new episode of The Squad. Keep it locked. And I already know you're keeping it locked to LinkedIn Jobs. I have a feeling we're going to see a DJ Uiagalelei profile popping up pretty soon. Open to work is the tag. That's going to be going on at LinkedIn Jobs. And guys, this is fantastic. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help professionals, to help you find the right professionals for your team, I should say, faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows small businesses are wearing so many hats, might not have the time and resources to hire. That's why LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you so much for making The Squad your first listen. I highly recommend for your next listen, you check out our guy Spencer McLaughlin on Locked On College Football. You never know when you may see some of us pop up as guests on his show talking about all the big storylines in college football. And so we've already seen Georgia Tech pull off the upset against Florida State, and they beat Georgia State. But I think this weekend we're going to find out if, beating Florida State is just something everybody's going to do, or if that actually means Georgia Tech is for real this year. They're going up against the Syracuse Orange, who they beat Ohio. It's very impressive. Kyle McCord put up big numbers. Jackson, what's going to happen in that game this Saturday?
It's all going to come down to Syracuse's ability to stop the run, or really it's just contain the run, because I don't think you can actually shut down the running game of Georgia Tech. Like, I really respect their running game with Haynes King and Jamal Haynes. Now, Syracuse really did struggle against Ohio in the run game. They really struggled. But, Ohio had Eric Dickerson in the backfield. Anthony Tyus, 6'1", 225, big dude, So Georgia Tech doesn't have exactly that. Their leading rusher is Jamal Haynes. He's a little bit smaller. So maybe they can tackle a little better because they're not going against a superhuman running back, maybe. It's all going to be about how they can stop the run. If they can hold them down to 150 or less, then Syracuse is going to win. If they can't, then they're going to lose.
Syracuse gave up 255 yards to Ohio.
Ryan, I just told you they had Eric Dickerson in the backfield.
That is an embarrassment to my favorite running back of all time. That is ridiculous. They stink. Syracuse is terrible on defense. Good luck.
If ifs and buts were berries and nuts, squirrels would never starve. Sure, if they can hold Georgia Tech to under 150, they'll win the game. That's Georgia a big if.
For 3 bills.
It is a big if.
If I was in the same room as Meg Thee Stallion for an extended period of time, I might get her number. But that's a huge if. That is a huge hit. By the way, Meg, if you watch it, never mind. That's neither here nor there. The reality,
the idea that Megan Thee Stallion is watching this show right now is wild to me.
Hey, listen,
she's an everydayer.
Water things have happened. You know what I mean? You always got to shoot your shot. You miss every shot you don't take. But I love Jackson because again, I would love to get inside that mind just for like 30 seconds. It's like wearing somebody's glasses. If you don't have a prescription, you know you're gonna get a headache. I know I get a headache inside Jackson's mind for too long because I'm deeply concerned about his ability to say we're gonna stop a running game with a bigger, stronger, better offensive line coming at us than we just had because they don't have a back that's as big. It's a scary place inside that Audrey.
The problem was the tackling. Mm-hmm. The tackling was terrible. They missed so many tackles.
That feels important.
And part of it might be because of the size.
Great. Comment of the day from Grace.
Hold on. I want to make sure we get into.
You guys are acting like Syracuse is some huge underdog here. We're 3-point underdogs at home. All right. So the odds makers are telling you that this is going to be a close game. I think the over-under is like 60. So not only are they saying that.
Not just any odds makers, our good friends at FanDuel. Thank you.
Our great friends at FanDuel. Our great friends at FanDuel.
Listen. Well, the guys at FanDuel they're usually right, except when it comes to Florida State. They're wrong, but
that's true.
That is true. Well, okay, so I'm looking at the odds, Kenton and Grayson, for Tennessee Volunteers visiting NC State, and you guys better play with some pride this weekend because it's not very often you see one ranked team going on the road to another ranked team, and Tennessee, the visiting 14th ranked team in America, are 8-point favorites at the 24th ranked team in America. Talk to me, guys. What's going to happen this Saturday?
Well, not quite. It's a neutral site game. It's actually in Charlotte.
Oh,
but yes.
I'm sorry.
Nonetheless, we have our hands full.
You're fired.
That's how
Kenton, you're in the captain's chair now.
Nico is a freak of nature. Nico's a freak of nature. I think he's exactly as he is advertised. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And I know he's only started 2 games in his collegiate career. Look out for this dude. And Tony Gibson's defense at NC State is designed to game break an offense like Tennessee's. But as far as athletes go, NC State is at a very clear disadvantage here, especially after what we saw week 1 against Western. Just didn't play well at all. I mean, point blank period. We got pushed around by an FCS team until that 4th quarter. We decided enough was enough, and we ended up winning the game. But it's going to be a raucous environment down there in Charlotte. I will be there. I can't wait for this game. Win or lose, it's going to be a great time. But NC State has an uphill battle.
Hey, Kenton Grayson, for those who didn't watch State last week in the post Peyton Wilson era, who do the folks need to know about on the defensive side of the ball now?
Defense, you go Aiden White. He is one of the best cornerbacks in the country that no one talks about. He is not allowed a touchdown in over 2 full seasons of play. Oh, wow. Sean Brown's another guy. He was a safety last year. This year he's a linebacker. The linebacking core in general, that's what you should keep your eye on for NC State, but not necessarily because it's a good thing. These games are going to be win or lost because NC State's linebacker play will make or break them. And I think you'll see a prime example of that this weekend against Tennessee. But Aiden White is probably the biggest name to know on defense. Davin Vance, another one, defensive end, senior, captain, leader, all the things. They got their hands full of Tennessee. I'll leave it at that.
I love my boy Grayson. I love him to death. He knows I do. I'm going to be down there in Charlotte with him. I'm going to be at the game as well. I, unlike Jackson, can be honest about my team. I don't see Saturday ending well for them in Bank of America. I don't. I'm going to be honest about that because you have skill positions that can get open on. I mean, they didn't just get open on Western Carolina. I struggled to find guys that were covered. I mean, I literally was like, all right, wait, who actually has a defender within 2-3 yards of them regularly last week? And yet our quarterback was so against what is supposed to be him. And that's a problem for me because the same thing happened to Florida State. Florida State was supposed to be physical. They were supposed to beat you up. You were supposed to walk away from every game, even if you win, bruised and bloodied and battered. This Florida State team is playing tiddlywinks out there. They're bumping chests with guys that say, hey, you got me, I'm blocked. But I want to bring this back to NC State in that Grayson McCall's strength is supposed to be being on time, being on target. He's not a great runner. He's not a great, he's got a 60-yard, the ball jumps out of his hand. He's not that guy, but he's supposed to be on time, on target. He was not those things in game one, which is extremely concerning for me. It is deeply, deeply concerning for me. As a matter of fact, Grayson and I have a locked on look of the week coming your way if you're a Wolfpack fan, where we break down how the interception happened and how that cannot happen with a 5th or 6th year quarterback. It just can't. So I look at this and I say, to quote another gospel singer, this got to be a Donnie McClurkin affair where we fall down, but we get up, because you've got to come back after this game better. But I don't see a game where your quarterback is still knocking off rust against top 5 guys. Pierce, who's going to be going super high in the draft. He ain't got to wait long. Nico, who probably he's going to have to wait about as long as my hair in the green room before his name is called on the big board in a couple years. So objectively speaking, love the Pack. Don't think Saturday's going to go great.
Just want you guys to know, in so many different conversations we've had today, Florida State has caught so many strays. All 6 of us will be served with lawsuits tomorrow, so be ready for that. They are coming, okay? And I appreciate everybody taking the time. And if you're watching us here on the Squad, make sure to hit that like button. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. You listen to the audio version, which is available on all of our channels, every channel for the ACC shows, even the ones not represented today. Make sure you subscribe across the Locked On Podcast Network. For Jackson Holzer, Kenton Gibbs, Grayson Boone, Isaac Shade, Brian Smith. Brian, we're so sorry with the way we handled your game today. We will talk to you guys next week on the Squad right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.